ladies. Welcome to the CU Women's Table Talk, hosted by none other than our First Lady, LaKisha Warmack. We're so glad that you could join us today. I hope you will enjoy this. This is about the mind, body, and spirit. So we want you to just sit back, relax, and enjoy. Before we begin, I want to say I am so honored that I have the privilege to introduce to you our First Lady. Now, let me tell you a little something about her. She loves, well, can I say it? Reality TV. She's a mom. She's a wife. She's a nurse. She is an all-around woman. She's an every woman. You know how that song goes. President Warmack, her husband, said this: she's passionate, loving, and she's a friend. So I want to add to that. She's beautiful, she's gracious, and she is caring. She is the real deal. I want to introduce now to you our First Lady, the First Lady of Claflin University, the best HBCU in the whole United States. Welcome, First Lady LaKisha Warmack.
Well, thank you so much, Tammy, for that introduction. I almost said, who is she introducing? Is she talking about me? But thank you so much, Tammy. And welcome each and every one of you tonight to the CU Table Talk. I am your host for tonight, and I am LaKisha Warmack. And it is indeed a privilege and an honor to serve as the 9th First Lady here at the historic Claflin University. Well, ladies, let me just tell you, we have a great conversation lined up for you tonight. But before we get started, the chat is open. So if you do have questions and or comments, please drop those down in the chat and join in on the conversation tonight. Well, I want to give a little bit of background first about CU Table Talk and the inception of it. So last year was our first year here at Claflin University, and I wanted to give the women, faculty, and staff an opportunity to get to know me on a professional and also a personal level, but also providing a safe space for women to have conversations about the issues that affect us as women. And I am just a true believer that we have to be whole, mind, body, and spirit in order to be a healthy person. So we had a really great conversation last year. And so the feedback was, when are we having the next one? So we're still in this virtual environment. So I'm looking at it as an opportunity to cast my net a little bit wider, because tonight, not only am I able to connect with my CU family, I'm also able to connect with friends and family across the US tonight. So welcome my CU family, and also welcome my family and friends from across the US tonight. So thank you. Pull your seats up a little bit closer to the table so we can get ready to chat. All right, so without further ado, I want to introduce my esteemed panelists for tonight. First up, we have Mrs. Cynthia Washington Williams. She is a licensed professional counselor, a national certified counselor. And so these women have extensive bios, so I'm just going to give you a little bit about each one of them. So Cynthia has about 25 years of experience, of counseling experience. She has been a contractor for the military and has traveled extensively around the US and also abroad. She also was very instrumental in helping with the Emmanuel 9 with the families there, and also the first responders. So please join me in welcoming Cynthia Washington Williams to the table tonight. All right, so our next panelist for this evening is Dr. Sandy Charles. Dr. Sandy Charles, she is a board certified cardiologist. She is very passionate about women's heart health, and also when giving her just exemplary and passionate care to patients, she also wants to make sure that they have a clear understanding of their disease processes. And that's one thing that I can truly just really I really appreciate that because of the role that I do every single day of really making sure that patients have a really good understanding of their disease stage. So Dr. Charles, hats off to you for not only providing that exemplary care, but also making sure that they understand their disease state. Also, you can catch Dr. Charles on the local news stations. She is always there giving her helpful tips about healthy living and heart health. Also, Dr. Charles was featured in the Forbes magazine to discuss being on the front lines during the pandemic and how it has its effects on Black doctors. So please welcome to the table tonight, Dr. Sandy Charles. All right, ladies and gentlemen, to round it out, and I do have a couple of gentlemen in here tonight, so that's why I said ladies and gentlemen. So to round it out, we have none other than Miss Jackie Clark Chisholm of the legendary Clark Sisters. So we all know Jackie as a Grammy award-winning artist, but Jackie is also a lover of God, a mother, a life coach, image consultant, author, and she's also a nurse as well. And Jackie is also affectionately known as another one of America's favorite auntie. So please, please help me welcome to the table tonight, Mrs. Jackie Clark Chisholm. All right, so ladies, I want to go ahead and get this conversation going tonight. So I want to just open this conversation by saying that as women, we wear lots and lots of hats. We go through various things in life. For some of us, we're trying to be a good wife, a good mother, a good daughter, a good sister, a good friend, a good coworker, a good sorority sister, a good employee, a good church member. And now with the pandemic here, we have another added stress. And some of us have even turned our homes into schools, basically. So not only are we trying to be teachers, we're trying to be the baker, the cook, the candlestick maker, and everything else in between. And the world simply tells us to basically put on your big girl underwear, go out and face the world and make it happen. Be strong, you can do it. But what happens when the weight of the world is just a little bit too much for us to bear? You know, what do we do? So I want to join in the conversation. First of all, Cynthia, I want to kick this first one over to you. So there is a saying that says, your mental health is your foundation. If it is not solid, nothing else in your life will be. Cynthia, can you talk to us a little bit tonight about having a strong and solid foundation in our mental health?
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'm so honored to be here with this esteemed First Lady and this panel. Mental health and the foundation. As I was really thinking about this topic, what I really want to reiterate is our mental health, realizing first and foremost that we've got to honor our mental health, that we've got to honor the fact that if psychologically we're not together to be able to navigate through the vicissitudes of life that we face, we will not make it. I really believe that mental health, and I'm sure that Dr. Charles and Sister Jackie Clark Chisholm will also speak to this. If our mind is not right, it really does impact us physically. There are a lot of things that happen mentally that wind up showing up in our bodies. And so when you say the foundation, I love that phrase because it's sending the message, ladies and gentlemen, respectively, let's make sure we take care of our mental health by addressing how we are doing psychologically.
Yes, yes, absolutely. And so, Cynthia, I want to talk to you, or basically just ask you this question about seeking help and knowing when to seek help. Because like I said, as women, we really face so many different challenges, and we feel like, you know, we can do it. And we hear the phrase all the time about the strong friend or the strong person. But what about when that strong friend or that person gets a little weak? And when should we begin to seek help? Or what are some signs and symptoms to say, you know what, okay, I don't think I can do this anymore. I think I need to seek help. And then I have a part B onto that question, Cynthia. Are African Americans, because we know that mental health has been a taboo conversation or issue in the African American community, but are you seeing more African Americans or Black people seeking professional counseling? So
Yes,
what can
yes.
we do? And then are you seeing that?
Yes. So I'm going to answer the second question. I've definitely seen a tremendous amount of African Americans coming forth and requesting that they want an African American therapist. So definitely we are seeing an uptick and uprise in that. I would like to say that as we work to eradicate racism, I certainly hope we will be successful in eradicating the stigma of getting help. When should we seek help is the question.
Mm-hmm.
Ladies and gentlemen, if you have a dentist, if you have a primary care physician, if you have an optometrist, I believe that you need to add the fact that a therapist on that list. I don't think that we have to wait until life becomes so heavy and we're so burdened. Definitely you can seek help at that point. But I think, because I too, as a therapist, I have a therapist. Hello, everyone. I also, and he's fine. I just want you to know. I have a therapist. I think it's important. I think that as women, we carry a lot on our backs. We like you said, we wear so many hats. We deal with so many things. We're terrible. We get an F in the area of self-care. And I would like to say that I would like for us to begin to place that in the area of self-care. Our friends are not equipped to be our therapist. Let me say that again. Our friends, they are not equipped to be our therapists. So yes, you don't have to wait until the pressures of life get so heavy. Of course, seek that help then. But I really suggest, because of everything that we deal with, that we have a therapist in our lives.
All right, so some takeaways. Your friend is not your therapist. And then too, like you said, Cynthia, we go to the doctor for everything else. And I'm a firm believer that God has placed people here in order to help us, as you stated. We have Dr. Charles on here. She's a cardiologist. So if we have heart issues, we're going to her. If we have issues with our feet, we're going to a podiatrist. What about that checkup from the neck up? So that's what I call it, that checkup from the neck up. So there are people here that have been placed here that specialize in that. So seek professional help if you need it. Now, Cynthia, you said something. I'm going to kick it over to Dr. Charles right now. So you said that things will begin to show up in our body when we're not taking care of ourselves mentally. With all the stressors in the world, things can begin to show up in our body. And I'll just speak a little bit about this because every single day I talk to patients who suffer from plaque psoriasis and psoriatic arthritis. And now when I'm calling them, they are having major flare-ups because of all the additional stressors of life and then also the pandemic. So surely if the stresses of life can cause issues with our skin, surely they can cause issues with our hearts.
Yes.
So Dr. Charles, this one is for you. So here's the saying: if you don't make time for your wellness, you will be forced to make time for your illness.
That's good.
Okay. So we know that heart disease is the #1 killer of men and women. And sometimes they don't even know that, you know, they may have hypertension or cholesterol issues or anything like that. And for women, our symptoms are totally different sometimes than men. So Dr. Charles, talk to us a little bit about, you know, that phrase or that statement that I made. And then what are some things that we can do as women to recognize maybe signs and symptoms of heart disease, or just a few takeaways of how to just really live a healthier lifestyle?
Yes, thank you so much for having me here. Such an honor, President Warmack and Cynthia. I'm going to echo a lot of what you guys said. You know, I always talk a lot about superwoman syndrome. We all wear so many hats. I'm a full-time cardiologist. I'm a mom of 2. My kids are 2 years old and 4 years old. I'm married. There are so many things that we have to do. And a lot of times we neglect our health. So like you said, heart disease is the #1 cause of death, affects men and women equally. It kills more people than all forms of cancer combined. And unfortunately, like a lot of things, Black women are particularly affected and susceptible. Certain studies quote that 49% of women ages 20 and over have some form of heart disease. So nobody is safe from it, whether young or old. It's something that we all need to be aware of. Unfortunately, I've been in the hospital holding the hand of a 37-year-old who's just had a heart attack, or a 41-year-old mom who had a stroke and can no longer walk or talk. So every day is a day that we have to put our health first, and we cannot take it for granted. So like you said, you know, talking about the actual symptoms, a lot of the times the symptoms for women are not obvious. And it wasn't until the early 2000s that doctors realized that women were actually being as affected by heart disease as much as men. And that's because, unlike men that'll have the crushing chest pain, a lot of women may not have chest pain. They may be having a heart attack and just have shortness of breath, or indigestion, nausea. Profound fatigue can be a symptom of that. And I spend every day just raising the alarm and telling women, always acknowledge your symptoms. Always reach out to a medical professional. And unfortunately, in this age of COVID, people are additionally afraid of going to hospitals or going to their doctor's office. So the numbers of people who are dying from heart attacks at home is skyrocketing. So, you know, always be aware of your symptoms. And so important to know that a lot of the risk factors for heart disease don't have any symptoms. And many of us wouldn't even know if we had them if we were not getting checked regularly. And unlike cancer and a lot of other horrible illnesses, 80% of heart disease is preventable with diet and exercise. So I come from a Caribbean family, and everything that I grew up eating was very flavorful, delicious, and culturally, it was not good to be skinny. You know, it's like eat up, plump up, look like you got some meat on your body. And I spend my days also telling people that we have to eat to live, not live to eat. The power of healthy foods is incredible. And unfortunately, with the pandemic and so much going on, many people are gaining weight. Many people are eating processed foods that are making blood sugar and blood pressure go up. And simple changes can have a profound change. So I tell people that a 20-ounce cup of Coca-Cola has the same amount of sugar as 18 chocolate chip cookies. 18 chocolate.
Wait, Dr. Charles. You're stepping on my toes. What did you say about a Coke, Dr. Charles?
I am. And you know, it's so important to just know how bad a lot of these very prevalent foods are for us. So 20-ounce Coca-Cola that many of us, I started drinking Coca-Cola when I was just a little itty bitty girl, 3, 4, it's no big deal in my family. 18 chocolate chip cookies, that equivalent of sugar is grounded up into that 1 cup of Coke, right? So it's just creating that awareness that simple things like cutting back on sugary drinks, whether it's Coca-Cola or orange juice or apple juice, which frequently has the same amount of sugar, can work wonders for heart health. Another thing, unfortunately, high blood pressure is so prevalent in our communities. Again, frequently doesn't have any symptoms, and the amount of salt is frequently responsible for that. So I always tell my patients, watch your salt, and they're like, yeah, doc, I don't put any salt in my food. And I'm like, where do you eat when you're having a busy day and you can't cook? And, Chick-fil-A is a big option, fast foods, and a spicy chicken sandwich at Chick-fil-A, for example, has 80% of your whole day's worth of recommended salt in that one little sandwich. And that's not including the fries. A lot of the, sub sandwiches, Jersey Mike's, I used to have that all the time, and to try to be healthy, a mom with kids, if I can't cook, I'll take the turkey and cheese sandwich on whole wheat, thinking that should be reasonable. A regular size sub has 110% of your whole day's recommended amount of sodium, right? So before we can even make steps to be healthy, we always have to educate ourselves about what we're putting in our body. Salads that you get at fast food restaurants, frequently they're just as bad, if not worse, than the Big Macs and the Whoppers, because the goal of fast food restaurants is to kind of get you addicted and to have you coming back. So just because it's a salad does not by any means it's healthy. So things that you make at home are usually hands down the best. Lots of veggies and water really are great options. And the last thing I have to say is exercise. It's not recommended. It's absolutely mandatory for health maintenance, whether you're skinny, whether you're overweight, and it doesn't have to be excessive. The simple act of just walking can decrease your risk of stroke, heart disease, diabetes, even many sorts of breast cancer or other cancers by 40%. So especially now with this quarantining and everybody being home, we have to make the time to get up and move, make the time to eat well. We have to make ourselves the number one things on our list, the number one priority, because our bodies are truly gifts from God. And if we don't prioritize what we do with it, how we maintain it, we are taking it for granted. And frequently the changes that we make have a profound impact on our families, our spouses, our children, etc.
Whew, Dr. Charles, you have just crushed my hopes and dreams tonight.
I'm so sorry. I am so sorry. Everyone in my family just looks at me all kinds of crazy when I'm like, don't have soda, don't have this. But when, I've been a doctor for 11 years, and when you've seen enough 30-year-olds on lots of different medications. And what I gotta say too is that a lot of these things, high blood pressure, diabetes, are reversible. So if you need meds for them, take them, but work on your habits, and frequently you can get off of the medications, obviously with supervision from your doctor.
Absolutely. Yeah. A little progress each day adds up to big results. So we'll get some questions from the chat, but a few takeaways so far from the conversation tonight. Cynthia talked about self-care, and it tied right back into Dr. Charles saying we have to prioritize our health. So just taking care of yourself, and also exercise is mandatory. It's not optional. So whatever size you may be, exercise is mandatory, but the key is educating yourself first about the things that you are putting into your body. So Tammy, we'll take a break here before we kick it over to Jackie. What questions do we have in the chat so far? We can get a couple of those from the chat.
It was Tammy.
Took
All right,
myself,
so
I'm sorry, I thought I took myself off mute. I
okay.
apologize. Okay, so what is the recommended exercise time, Dr. Charles?
Yes. So recommended is 30 minutes a day, 5 days a week. But what I tell people is any little bit that you can do counts, and any intensity that you can do counts. So for me, I work at least 12 hours a day, 5 days a week, and some weekends. So, you know, it's sometimes hard to squeeze that in, but things that I do, for example, are I never take an elevator, and my office at work is on the 8th floor. So when I get in at the beginning of the day, that's like a jump start little exercise session for me. I walk everywhere. But then I do make a point to wake up a little bit early. On the weekends, I do yoga with the kids. They love it. So anything and everything that you can do is absolutely beneficial. Even watching TV, there are sofa exercises, so many things.
Yes, ma'am. This question was earlier. What homopathic medicine can be taken to reduce cholesterol?
Yes. So there's something called red yeast rice, and that is a natural product that can help reduce cholesterol. But I will have to warn you that a lot of the things that are marketed as natural organic therapies just have not been researched and are not FDA approved. A lot of the medications that doctors recommend are because they've been studied in hundreds and thousands of people and have been shown to work. And I know it's frequently taboo to have to take a medication, and people would much rather take some mix and blend of herbs, but a lot of the medications have just been shown not to only decrease cholesterol, but to help prevent stroke, heart attack, and death. So, and it's very calculated who can just try natural therapies and who really needs the protection of something stronger to help prevent stroke and heart attack. So that's something that definitely should be discussed with your physician.
And Dr. Charles, this last one is for you, and then Ms. Cynthia, there's one for you as well. Should women be taking an aspirin a day at a certain age?
So very good question. Back a couple years ago, if you had a heart, that was the recommendation. That has since changed a lot, and that is because there are risks with everything. Even a baby aspirin can increase risk of bleeding and stomach irritation. That being said, if you have a family history of people having heart problems at an early age, it may be recommended for you. If you've ever had a stroke, a heart attack, even diabetes, that may be recommended for you. And there are a lot of different tests that will screen your body to see if you have any evidence of plaque buildup. And if that's the case, then that is definitely recommended for you. So it's not a broad generalizable recommendation, but something that should definitely be discussed with your doctor to see if you qualify for it. And I have to say, as a woman cardiologist, which is, you know, there definitely are not that many of us, I unfortunately have a glimpse into how a lot of women are undertreated for their risk factors, and who are undertreated even when they have heart attacks and strokes by their doctors and may be at risk for future things happening. So with a lot of things, it's a lot of it has to be up to us to know what our blood pressures are, what our cholesterol is, what our blood sugar is regularly, know if it's getting treated right, really advocate for yourself to make sure that your doctor is doing all the right things to protect you from the #1 killer.
Wow, thank you so much, Dr. Charles. So this next question is for Ms. Cynthia Washington Williams. Is there a website or a directory by state that is available for certified therapists?
That's an excellent question. One of the websites that I would definitely recommend is www.helppro.com. www.helppro.com.
Okay. All right. Thank you so much, Ms. Cynthia, for that. We're going to kick it back to Doc. It looks like there's a question here about COQ10. Is it good for heart health?
None of the studies have proven that it is good for heart health. So people with high cholesterol who need to be on a type of medication called statins, which are fantastically powerful medications. One of the side effects of that medication is it can sometimes cause muscle discomfort. CoQ10 was classically a medication prescribed to help with that muscle discomfort. The research has been kind of plus minus on it. So if it helps patients, I let them take it, but that is not something I ever prescribe as a protective medication for heart health in general.
All right, next question, Dr. Charles. How can sugar in diet sodas affect your health?
Yeah, such a good question, because you would think the easy way to get around the Coca-Cola is to do Diet Coke. A lot of studies have shown that people who regularly drink Diet Coke, unfortunately, are more prone to be obese and to gain weight. And that is because our bodies are programmed to want to eat things that are filling, that are nutritious. And when you are drinking a lot of Diet Coke, it's actually tricking your body into think that it is consuming something that'll make you feel full and good, but actually your body's like, wait a second, I thought I was getting nourished, but I'm not. So it's constantly turning on your sensor to eat. And so I tell people it's so important to eat nutritious foods with minerals and fibers. They make you full, they help decrease your risk of heart disease, and they give you energy. Diet Coke does none of the above. So it's just kind of wasted space. Yes. So it's better than regular soda, but our bodies still deserve a lot better.
Yes. And then there are two more questions. The first one has to do with, aren't some natural remedies antagonistic to pharmaceuticals? And the other one deals with lower blood pressure in meds. What do you recommend?
Okay, so the first question, 110%. Anything that we consume, whether it's a medication or an herbal supplement, always has the potential of side effects. And a lot of herbal supplements are metabolized using enzymes in our liver that are also used by other medications to help our bodies. So whenever you're talking with your doctor, it's just as important for them to know the prescribed meds as it is to know the supplements that you're taking, just to make sure that nothing is interacting and putting you at risk.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you so much, Dr. Charles. And then the other question, I said I did ask that, and we're going to hold the next questions, but it was about lower pressure. What do you recommend to lower blood pressure?
Yes, so that is a tricky question. There is a whole toolbox of lots of wonderful blood pressure medications that can protect and preserve lots of different things. There are ones that are special for if you have diabetes, or ones that are great if you have a weak heart. And depending on what potential side effects there can be, it's really a case-by-case discussion that you need to have with your doctor to determine what is best for you. There are others, there are some that I rarely prescribe in young women because they make people fatigued and they could decrease sexual desire. And so I'm really particular about who I prescribe, what I prescribe to whom.
Okay, thank you so much, Dr. Charles. First Lady.
Hey, all right. So this has so far just been some great information, Dr. Charles, but as a reminder, please speak to your healthcare professional, as Dr. Charles has stated. So we are not giving medical advice, but this is great information. So please follow up with your healthcare provider. So this is just off to a great start. So I want to pull Jackie into this conversation. So we've talked about how we're being stretched mentally, physically, just all the stressors of life are pretty much happening at this point. And sometimes we can just feel down in our spirit. I mean, sometimes it feels like you're doing the cha-cha slide at this point. You're moving to the left, you're moving to the right. And at this point, how low can you go? So you are feeling very low and just down sometimes. And, you know, sometimes life can just give us a gut punch. I mean, things can happen that can just hurt us to the very core of our soul and our spirit. So you can choose to stay in that space, but then you can choose to get up and fight. We know that Tammy McCartry told us that we fall down, but we get up. But what do we do when we feel like we just don't have any more fight left in us? And so I just want to let Jackie in on this part. What can we do to truly exercise our spiritual muscles when we feel like we just don't have that fight left in us anymore? Make sure you're off mute, Jackie. If you're muted, unmute yourself.
Well, I think the most important thing, I mean, the way I deal with it is mostly really because of the way we were raised, is we pray about it first. And as Cynthia said earlier, seeking help, getting psychological help. I too have a therapist. I'm not sure if everybody knows, but my husband passed away in November of last year. And it's been a real struggle for me. We were married for 46 years, and it's been a real struggle for me. The most important thing that has really helped me is seeking counseling, because it helped me to get from point A to point B, because sometimes family members don't really understand what you're going through when you have a loss. It's like, you know, once my husband died, and for 2 weeks my family was there, and then after that it was like, oh, okay, you good now, we all. And that's not always the case. And so because I am a professional nurse too, I had to get somebody to talk to, somebody that would understand the process of grieving and where I was in that process. Mm-hmm. And so I think the most important thing about spiritually, about trying to encourage yourself, is first of all, you need to pray, you need to get somebody to talk to. And again, your best friend is not the best person to talk to. So going to a counselor is going to be the best best thing for you if you're in the midst of something like that. Otherwise, if you are just going through like we are right now, you know, me being at home by myself for weeks at a time, the most important thing that I do, I listen to music, I read the scriptures, I try to find something to keep me occupied with doing something. The other thing I tell people, and I've done so many Zooms since we've been in this pandemic, the other thing that I tell people is, if there's something that you have as an aspiration for you, something that you've always wanted to do, something that you have said in your coming out, that you're going to make sure that you do something that is going to be positive in this pandemic, so that when you come out of it, that some of those dreams and aspirations that you've had, that you put those things into action. That is something to me that is extremely important. Praying is going to also be my number one thing, because prayer and fasting for me works for me. Now, I mean, to those who don't believe in it, you know, the most important thing for you is going to be to read and talk to somebody. The most important thing for me is being able to go to God first. Secondly, to get some help from a counselor. And then third, if you're just having a low day, the most important thing is get out, do some exercise, get your head clear. I think that that's really important. I thank Dr. Charles for that, because that's really important. And maybe that's really what has helped me, because I finally started the exercise class, Dr. Charles. And women, and so I went the first day. When I went, I thought I said, oh, this is going to be okay. When I got there, I didn't know that I was going to be doing these training. This man had me doing sit-up, oh my God, but it helped me. It helped me a whole lot. So, I mean, that would be my advice to people who are really going through, because we're living through a pandemic. We've never lived through this before. So we have to find ways to function and to get from point A to point B, even in my sadness, and even in our sorrow, or even in our discouragement, or our inability to make ends meet. You know, we have to find a way to deal with it psychologically. And I think that to me, those are the things that I would suggest to anybody who is in this pandemic at this moment.
Thank you, Jackie. I was writing as you were talking. And so just some key things from what Jackie just said. And as we know, this is Jackie Clark Chisholm telling you all that prayer works, but you also need to seek some professional help. So this is coming from a true woman of God saying that seek some professional help. So she talked about praying. Also, picking up those goals, dreams, or aspirations that you talked about prior to the pandemic. This is the time to cultivate those skills or whatever it was that you were working on. We were talking prior to jumping on here, and I'll share, Jackie, that you're learning Spanish, and I shared with Jackie that is one of my goals, is to learn Spanish, and so truly needing to pick that up. But Jackie, thank you so much for those tips. And so also, I was telling Jackie that if you do follow Jackie, you know that she does these moments of inspiration. And I find those moments very, very helpful. So if you do not follow Jackie, on there, she does the moments of inspiration and the word of the day. And Jackie, one that I enjoyed most, or that I really liked, is that you talked about, and we've been talking about that tonight, about how we just find ourselves so busy. Oh, I have to do this, I have to do that, or you're trying to make somebody happy, or whatever the case may be. And you talked about just putting God first, because a lot of times we have ideas and things that we want to do, but did we truly seek God for guidance on those things? So can you just speak to us a little bit about that, Jackie?
I'm sorry.
There you go.
Okay. I think the most important thing, especially for the women as well as men, is that because we get so caught up in doing things for others and being a mom, or, you know, just in our career, just being so involved in those things, I think that we need to take a moment to, you know, envision where we are. Where are we? Have we done anything that has to help us or has made us happy in some kind of way? What have you done to make yourself feel like you matter? We make everybody else feel like they matter, but what have we done to say that we matter? And one of the scriptures that's comes to my mind is, you know, that he said he will never leave us nor forsake us. And in that, I think about all of the things that I've done to help other people. And I sit back and I watch all the people that I feel in my life that I have helped in some kind of way. And then I say to myself, you know, some of those people may be helpful. Some of those people will talk to me at times and encourage me at times. But what have I done to encourage myself? So now I'm not going to lie. I like to go to the store. Well, we can't go to the store right now. So what do? I get on Amazon.com and I make myself happy. So I just think it's important that we find some way to, you know, to make yourself feel happy, to make yourself feel like I deserve this. And believe me, we all deserve it. We just find ways to allow people and things and issues take us away from that and put us in another space where I'm feeling guilty about it. I shouldn't do it. I'm not feeling guilty about nothing else no more. I'm telling y'all that right now. Today, okay, because of LaKisha, this is what I'm finna do. I'm finna do whatever it is that makes me happy. The rest of this week, I'm gonna do what makes me happy. And I'm glad that we had this today, because if you don't start making yourself happy, nobody else is responsible for it, only you.
Amen. Amen. And she drops the mic. So in the words of Mary J. Blige, all she wants to do is to be happy.
There you go. And feel good.
And feel good. We got
right.
you. We got you, Jackie. And feel good. Absolutely. Absolutely. So are there any questions in the chat right now, Tammy? What do we have in the chat?
Yes, ma'am. We have in the chat. Now this is for Mrs. Jackie. It says, in what way was being a part of releasing your movie therapeutic for you? And will you start your Just Ask Uncle Jackie's again? Because this was a great topic to discuss.
Yes, there was a lot that I guess that I got from the movie, because initially, I did not watch the movie. Before my husband passed and my family, they all watched the movie. I didn't. And I didn't do it for a reason. My reason was because I wanted to have the same feeling that the audience had. And I wanted to be able to view it objectively, not seeing what they were going to say about us. Even though we wrote the script, we didn't know what parts of the script that they were going to use what parts they did not want to use. One of the parts in the movie that was in the movie was the part where my father was abusive to my mom. My sisters had issues with that, and they didn't want me to actually talk about it. But this is what I said to my family. If we're going to tell a story, if we're talking about our life, let's not lie, let's tell the truth. And what that does is it tells people that even though we are successful women now, that no matter where you come from, if you persevere, if you trust God, and if you continue to fight the good fight of faith, that anything that you ask God for, it can happen. I wanted people to understand that our life was not hunky-dory, okay? We were on welfare. We were poor, okay? We drove raggedy cars until we were able to drive. My mom was able to pay for a brand new car. I watched all of these things in our family, but what I wanted the people to know more importantly was that no matter what you've been through, no matter where you came from, if you really want to succeed in life, all you have to do is have the will to do it, and it can happen. So that part of my life, and then I had to make my sisters understand, you tell your truth and I'm gonna tell mine. You weren't hit, I was. And because I was hit, I could talk about it and talk about it truthfully. Now, in the end, my father apologized to me. My mom apologized to me. We got through it. And that's the thing that I think media really kind of runs rampant with. You know, they'll take something, you don't know what's going on in my household. You don't know what we've had to live through. Even when you go to the store, you can go to the store and be treated so disrespectful, but you don't know what that person too has been through to get to the next day. So in all of that, I think that the most important part to me was that people get that we are real, that we are no better than anyone else, that we are humbled and grateful to God that somebody wanted to write our story. That was it.
Well, thank you so much for sharing that, Jackie, because that's just a perfect segue into another topic that I want to talk about. And maybe I can get Cynthia to talk about this topic. So as you know, I'm going to talk about breast cancer awareness as well, but this month is also domestic violence month as well. So, and you brought up the abuse. So Cynthia, I know you work with different patients that may have lived through domestic violence, possibly going through right now. It may be someone on this call tonight that may be going through this situation. Talk to that particular woman tonight. What can she do? Where's the help? If you could talk to the audience tonight, Cynthia.
Definitely, we do know that this is October is Domestic Violence Month, and there's a lot of awareness being, and it needs to. This happens a lot, not just in our community, but in a lot of communities. And so there are 1-800 numbers that people can reach out to. Definitely seeking therapy. Once again, your friends are not the ones to be able to support you and provide counsel if you are in a domestic violence situation, because they may say to you, girl, if I was you, I would just do this. We do know the research has told us that the lethality is high when a woman decides to leave. So we don't want women who are saying, I'm leaving you, because the research is telling us that those women don't get to leave because they end up dead.
That's right.
So the message for someone who might be on the call, even if you are a friend of a friend of a friend, encourage them to get the support. Our shelters are available, but reaching out to get that counsel, the wise counsel, so that you can navigate being in that situation. It's not as simple as just telling somebody to get up and leave. You might be setting someone up to be hurt.
Yes, absolutely. So it sounds like, Cynthia, you're saying that in order to do that, in order for a victim to truly leave, they got to have, number one, a plan, and then that support in place. They can't just, like you said, it's not as easy as, girl, you should leave. Why are you there? Why are you staying?
Right.
They actually have to have some type of plan in place.
A safe plan, yes.
A safe plan.
Safety
Absolutely.
plan.
Absolutely. Any of my other panelists like to chime in?
I have got to, first of all, Dr. Jackie Clark Chisholm, you blessed me, and I'm going to tell you why. What you said was so genuine and so real. And the reason why I love and I'm impassioned about what I do, and why I'm excited about what you said, is transparency is so important. A lot of times you are looking at somebody and thinking that all is well, because you see the Mercedes and you see the matching suit and the Gucci bag. And a lot of people have a lot of unchecked mental issues because of grief, because of things that may have occurred in their life, to include sexual molestation or assault, things that they have not been dealt with. And what you choose not to deal with will ultimately deal with you. And I just want to reiterate, insurance is available. Companies are providing authorizations for you to get mental health. If you are on a job, please check. You have the Employee Assistance Program. You can get counseling complimentary. Please, please, let's eradicate, in addition to racism, let's eradicate the stigma. Counseling is not a curse word. You can have Jesus and a therapist.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Amen.
Absolutely.
So the takeaway from that, Jesus definitely, and also a therapist, but making sure if you are on the line tonight and you feel like you do need to speak with someone, reach out. Many jobs, as Cynthia stated, they do have the employee assistance plans and programs and all those things. Check with your insurance companies. It's open enrollment season right now. So if you do want to seek help, check with your insurance companies to see if they cover the services. So thank you, Cynthia. And thank you again, Jackie, for sharing.
I want to add one thing.
Okay, go ahead.
LaKisha, and that is also that in our family, we had all of the areas like suicide, when Dorinda was thinking of suicide, and then my one sister who had a nervous breakdown. I mean, these are all things that if we had, and back in the day, you didn't do that. I mean, especially in our church, you don't need that, you need Jesus. Well, okay, I need Jesus, and fine, I do need Jesus. But what do people do when their hope is gone, when the existence of God can do it for me? What about when you're in a place where you can't pray no more? People forget about that. It's real important that we seek counsel, seek wise counsel. That's what the Bible says.
Yes.
And we're to seek wise counsel. Wise counsel is going to help us get through it. We may not get over it, but they'll help us walk through it to get over it. And so I really believe that in our family, in that movie, everything that people go through in life, we experienced it in our life. But we were able, y'all excuse me. We were able to get through it. We were able to get through it because my mom was a hard driver about God. But the thing that I realized once I got older was that, okay, but I can't do this by myself. I need some help. And that's why I wanted to encourage everybody. Just like she said, Cynthia has expressed tonight, get some counsel. Don't try to do it on your own. It's hard. You won't be able to get through it. And you think you're over it and you're really not. So wise counsel is always important. Thank you for letting me say that.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
First
Thank you
Lady?
for sharing. Yes, go ahead.
Yeah, I just wanted to add in how powerful the testimony has been. There has been an increased incidence of high blood pressure with my patients from anxiety and stress. So the emotional aspect of what people are experiencing now manifests and affects heart health. Women in particular, there's something called broken heart syndrome that affects women, frequently women who've lost spouses, children, where their hearts will actually go into heart failure and need hospitalizations to get through that. I have young women who just had sick children who have something called spontaneous coronary dissections, where grief, stress actually causes big heart attacks, that we are currently trying to do the research and to understand the mechanisms. So the counseling and therapy is absolutely necessary, because like everyone has said, it has real implications for all sorts of health in terms of different organs.
Yes, absolutely. So, I mean, if you're listening tonight, you heard it here, because sometimes people may say it jokingly, oh, you know, she died of a broken heart. But as you can hear from the cardiologist here tonight, that is indeed a true thing. It is a thing, broken heart. So panelists, thank you all for sharing this information. I don't know about anybody else on the line tonight, but this is truly blessing my spirit tonight. So thank you so much. So Tammy, do we have any questions in the chat as we begin to round out as we're nearing the home stretch?
Yes, ma'am, we do. We have a question about how, this is to Dr. Charles, how do diets like the keto diet impact heart health?
Great question. The keto diet has been thought to be the best diet for weight loss, but it's frequently not the best diet for heart health. And that's because as you're maximizing your protein intake to help your body lose weight from decreased carbs, you're consuming a lot of saturated fat and a lot of cholesterol from the red meats, you know, egg yolk. One egg yolk has 70% of your whole day's recommended cholesterol intake. So as you skew that natural balance of veggies, you know, healthy carbs, and you just focus on the protein, that may help you lose weight, but weight is not the only variable in the equation for heart health. So I would say always talk with your doctor, know what things you have to prioritize in terms of cholesterol, sodium. And for me, I always say plant-based, natural, whole wheats, you know, brown rice, and cut out the sugary drinks, and try not to snack and exercise are more sustainable ways to lose weight, because you can lose weight from a keto diet, but oftentimes it's hard to maintain, so you end up just gaining it all right back.
Well, thank you so much, Dr. Charles. Next question is for you, Dr. Charles. Does sugar cause inflammation in the body that might be related to more pain?
It could, you know, there are different types of sugars, and what we know are that the sugars in processed foods, in the cookies, in the orange juices, and the sodas, those are not healthy sugars for our body. Our body digests them in a different way that can increase the risk of just bad things. So our diets are a powerful thing, and just trying to eat healthy carbs is always the way to go.
And does eating egg whites every day have a negative effect on your body?
No. And again, everything should be advised by everyone's doctor, because everyone's situation is different. But even eggs and egg yolks aren't a bad thing. You know, everything in moderation, depending on what you could be potentially be at increased risk for. But again, I always say healthy things in moderation are good. So egg white, you know, healthy doses of regular eggs and exercise, everything's good, except for, you know, processed things and sugary drinks that I stay away from.
Thank you so much, Dr. Charles, and the panelists. Thank you so very much.
Thank you.
All right, so I want to be mindful of the time because I know that most of us want to look at the debate tonight. So, but before we round out the night, I have to mention some things, and I want to read some stats as it relates to breast cancer, because I'd be remiss if we leave tonight and not say anything about breast cancer. I know Dr. Charles have made mention of it, but just some quick statistics. Overall in the U.S., there has been a 40% decline in breast cancer death rates. However, breast cancer mortality rates are about still 40% higher among Black women than in white women. Black women are more likely to be diagnosed with breast cancer at early ages. The train is going by, everyone, so okay. For those who do not know, we live right next to a train. All right. African-American women, 40% higher for us, and Black women are more likely to be diagnosed with breast cancer at younger ages. Here's the takeaway, and we're most likely to seek treatment later. The takeaway from this is that October is Breast Cancer Awareness Month. So awareness is just that, being aware of something. I always like to say that knowledge is power. I like to say take it a step further, and you have to implement that knowledge. So with that being said, please make sure that you are getting those mammograms. Make sure you're doing your self-breast exams every month. They have mammography trucks that are mobile mammography trucks that are out. So please, get online, see what's going on in your area. There are free events happening all over the US. So please, 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 ladies, make sure that you are doing those exams. And also, I'm speaking for myself, it is also time for me to have my mammogram as well. So tomorrow morning, I will be scheduling my mammogram as well, because it is time for mine. So please, please, please take care of yourself and make sure that you are doing those checks. Another thing that I must mention before we leave tonight, as I mentioned, the debate is coming on. So just please vote, vote, vote. Early voting is happening right now. Please go online to check to see when early voting is happening in your area, in your state. So I just wanted to make sure that I talked about those two things before rounding the night tonight. Now, before I wrap up for tonight, are there any final questions? Because I want to give my panelists an opportunity to share with you where you can find them, whether it be on social media, talk about their businesses, the services, merchandise, or whatever they have going on right now. I want to give the panelists an opportunity. And again, panelists, thank you so much for being with us tonight and sharing information. So I'll start with Cynthia. Cynthia?
Yes.
If you want to let the people know where they can find you.
Yes, I reside in Charleston, South Carolina. I am licensed in South Carolina and North Carolina, and I'd like to provide my email address, and you can reach me, cYNIE@comcast.net, cYNIE@comcast.net.
Okay, that's in the chat, Tammy. I saw Tammy got that in the chat. So if you want to reach out to Cynthia, that is her contact information there. And as she stated, she is licensed in both South Carolina and in North Carolina. Even if you're not in this area, you may have family members in this area that you would like to recommend to Cynthia, or recommend them to Cynthia. Okay, Dr. Charles.
Yeah, so I'm a cardiologist in Charlotte, North Carolina, and just a little fun fact, 2% of all doctors in our country are Black women. So we're really underrepresented. So I think this is just a wonderful and powerful position for me to be in. But I head the Women's Heart and Vascular Center at Novant Health. And I would love to see anyone concerned about risk, symptoms, anything. I also like to just spread the word about lots of different topics. So I'm on Instagram, Dr. Sandy Charles, LinkedIn and Twitter, just a lot of things, managing, being a doctor, a wife, a mom, and how to find that balance, and just fun tips. So you can find me in those different areas.
All right, thank you, Dr. Charles. And that's also in the chat. All right, Auntie Jackie.
Well, you can reach me on IG, and my Instagram is Jackie Clark Chisholm. And if you want, you can inbox me on that, and on Facebook it's the same. And also with my store and with my cooking show, it's www.auntiejackie.com. So you can reach me through any of those elements. If you find me on Instagram, you can just go there and it'll show you every area that how you can reach me as well.
Okay, well, thank you all so much. That is in the chat as well. So any last questions? Any last questions? Anything in the chat? Anything in the chat, Tim?
First Lady Warmack.
Oh, I think I recognize that voice.
Well, I just wanted to come on and say this was an amazing program. Thank you for putting it on. Thank you for not just for the Claflin community, but also for the greater community. Panelists, thank you. I was moved. I know it wasn't for me, and I eavesdropped just a little bit. This is Dr. Warmack, president here at Claflin University, and I say thank you all for blessing our community with that outstanding information. And thank you, baby, for putting on a great program.
Oh.
Well, thank you. Thank you so much. Yes, we truly appreciate it. I have enjoyed tonight. I hope that everyone here has enjoyed. I hope you have taken a few things away. I like to call it a few nuggets that you can chew on, and just things that you can implement as soon as you jump off here tonight, you know. So any last thing, Tammy, before I give my last words?
No, I'm just excited. I want to thank you, First Lady, for always being such an innovative leader and for giving us this wonderful platform and for inviting such spectacular guests. Thank you, guests, for being on this show, being on the CU Women's Table Talk. Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, did I hear somebody?
I just said thank you so much. Such an honor to contribute.
Yes.
Oh, thank you so much. Thank you. And Tammy, thank you. So that was Tammy Mccartry. She is the director of special events here at Claflin University. She is my right hand. We also have Dr. Cletra Peters on the call as well tonight. She's working in the background. But thank you so much, Dr. Peters. She keeps Dr. Warmack on task, both of us. So thank you, ladies, so much for being our right hand.
Thank you.
With that being said, I hope everyone has enjoyed tonight. I pray that you feel better going out than you did coming in. And so what I want to do is leave everyone with a little feel so good. That is Jackie Clark Chisholm single Feel Good featuring Mary J. Blige. So if you do not have that, download that on all platforms. Thank you. You are welcome. Good night, everybody. Thank you so much. We will see you next time at the table. Thank you.
Good night. Thank you, ladies.
Good night.
Thank you. Bye-bye.